Meanwhile, the IDF is striking back at Houthi rebels in Yemen after they fired another missile at Israel.
An Israeli F-35 squadron executed a surgical strike on a convoy believed to be transporting top Houthi leaders through northern Yemen. The operation demonstrated the F-35 Ayadir's ability to penetrate contested airspace undetected, marking a significant escalation in the ongoing conflict. But moments after the precision attack, a discovery on the ground raised more questions than answers. But a second, hidden battlefield was about to surface. One that Israel's most advanced jets weren't built to fight. What role did Mossad and AI play in making this precise strike? And what did their surveillance reveal next? The aftermath of this mission would soon shift the focus from the skies to something far more complex. The Israeli Air Force's operation in northern Yemen quickly became the focal point of regional attention. High above the barren terrain, F-35 Ayadir jets closed in on their target. A convoy comprised of high-value vehicles, including signal jamming trucks and armored SUVs, carrying several top Houthi leaders. The mission relied on a combination of stealth, timing, and advanced munitions, all orchestrated to ensure the element of surprise against a well-defended adversary. As the convoy reached a critical stretch of exposed ground, just before the mountainous escape routes, the F-35s initiated their attack. Remaining invisible to local radar, the stealth jets released GBU-39 bombs with sub-meter GPS guidance. Each munition was assigned to a specific vehicle, maximizing the likelihood of eliminating every key asset before any could disappear into the rugged landscape. The GBU-39's precision was vital, not only to guarantee the destruction of the targets, but also to minimize collateral damage in a region filled with complex terrain and uncertain civilian presence. The convoy's configuration presented unique challenges. Israeli intelligence had identified a mix of armored transports and electronic warfare vehicles, all moving under the cover of darkness. By integrating real-time surveillance and advanced targeting systems, the F-35s were able to adapt to shifting formations and potential decoys within the column. The timing of the strike was calculated down to the minute, exploiting the last window before the convoy could vanish into the protection of Yemen's northern mountains. Penetrating one of the most heavily monitored airspaces in the region, the F-35s leveraged their radar-evading design to avoid detection by Houthi air defenses. The threat environment included surface-to-air missile batteries and improvised warning systems, but the jets' low observable profiles and electronic countermeasures allowed them to execute the bombing run without alerting enemy forces. The operation's success depended on this seamless integration of stealth and speed. As the bomb struck, the targeted vehicles erupted in fire and debris. The armored SUVs, engineered to withstand small arms and roadside explosives, were overwhelmed by the penetrating force of the GBU-39 warheads. From the air, Israeli mission controllers watched as the convoy was systematically destroyed, vehicle after vehicle. The immediate assessment showed no survivors and no functioning vehicles left at the site, suggesting a decisive blow to the Houthi leadership structure. Yet, despite the apparent success, uncertainty lingered. The primary objective was the elimination of high-ranking Houthi figures, but confirmation of their fate proved elusive. Initial aerial reconnaissance and thermal scans revealed inconsistencies. Some vehicles, believed to have contained the most critical targets, displayed evidence that their occupants may have exited moments before impact. This anomaly raised immediate questions about how the Houthi leaders could have anticipated the strike or escaped so quickly. The aftermath of the strike did not yield the expected clarity. Israeli UAVs deployed to the area began transmitting images and sensor data that hinted at irregularities beneath the surface. While the wreckage above ground was unmistakable, certain thermal signatures and structural patterns pointed to something hidden below. Analysts noted that the destruction of the convoy, while tactically significant, might have exposed a deeper layer of operational complexity within the conflict. But as flames engulfed the convoy, unexpected heat signatures suggested this strike uncovered something far more concealed. Israeli Heron UAVs swept over the strike zone, conducting systematic post-strike assessments. Their high-resolution sensors confirmed the devastation above ground, but also a conspicuous absence. Despite the obliteration of the convoy, no remains of senior Houthi leaders were found. Instead, analysts noted clusters of unexplained heat signatures at precise locations on the surrounding terrain. Initial assumptions dismissed these as residual thermal effects. But closer review revealed a pattern. The signatures corresponded to camouflaged tunnel entrances, each reinforced and expertly concealed just meters from the destroyed vehicles. The focus of the mission shifted instantly from the surface battlefield to a hidden, engineered threat running beneath the mountains. The realization that Houthi leadership could have escaped underground reframed the entire operation. Intelligence officers reviewing live UAV feeds and satellite data recognized that the strike had not delivered a conclusive blow. The proximity and sophistication of the tunnels suggested a pre-planned escape, with leadership likely vanishing below ground in the final moments before impact. The question now extended beyond survival. How far did these tunnels reach? And what capabilities did they conceal? Detailed analysis of the tunnel network's construction revealed a level of engineering well beyond ad hoc insurgent tactics. The entrances, set into the natural folds of the mountains, were shielded by reinforced concrete, designed to withstand near-miss airstrikes and collapse attempts. These were not improvised escape routes, but permanent, fortified bunkers. Satellite tracking had already shown Iranian flagged ships delivering tunnel-building materials. Proof these were permanent, fortified bunkers, not temporary hideouts. Supplies and technical equipment, often smuggled under the guise of humanitarian aid, had been traced from Iranian ports to remote Yemeni mountain regions, far from civilian populations. This pattern pointed to a coordinated, long-term strategy by Iran to provide the Houthis with resilient infrastructure capable of supporting command, control, and logistics, even under sustained attack. The tunnels themselves served multiple strategic functions. In addition to providing escape for key leaders, they acted as protected command centers, allowing for secure communications and operational planning shielded from surveillance and airstrikes. Weapon storage was another core purpose. Missiles, ammunition, and critical equipment could be hidden underground, safe from aerial bombardment and ready for rapid deployment. These networks enabled the Houthis to maintain operational continuity regardless of the destruction above, creating a self-sustaining military environment beneath the surface. This discovery forced Israeli planners to reconsider the nature of the conflict. Air superiority and precision-guided munitions, once decisive, now faced a new barrier. A layer of hardened underground defenses immune to conventional attack. The existence of these tunnels shifted the conflict's center of gravity from open terrain to subterranean strongholds, where radar-evading aircraft and GPS-guided bombs lost their advantage. The Houthis, with Iranian assistance, had built not just a means of survival, but an underground architecture for long-term resistance. The concept of underground warfare is not new. The Viet Cong's tunnels in Vietnam allowed for both evasion and sustained operations against a technologically superior force. However, the scale and engineering of the Yemeni tunnels, enabled by foreign expertise and material support, set them apart as a strategic asset, not simply a tactical expedient. These networks were designed for longevity, enabling the Houthis to shelter leadership, stockpile arms, and direct operations without exposure to the relentless pressure of air campaigns. For Israeli intelligence, the implications were immediate and far-reaching. Destroying a convoy above ground no longer guaranteed the elimination of leadership or command capability. The adversary had anticipated the limits of air power and invested in infrastructure that could outlast even the most advanced aircraft and munitions. The focus now shifted from targeting moving vehicles to mapping and neutralizing the labyrinth beneath the mountains, a challenge requiring new intelligence methods and specialized weaponry. Uncovering these tunnels marked only the halfway point. The real story was how Israel found them in the first place. The path to the F-35 strike in Yemen began long before the jets left the runway. Israeli intelligence agencies, Mossad, military intelligence, and cyber units joined forces in a months-long effort to track Houthi leadership across some of the world's most challenging terrain. The operation's success depended on integrating satellite imagery, intercepted communications, and advanced analytics to create a detailed and constantly updated picture of enemy movements. Early warning signs came through the analysis of satellite photos and changes in encrypted Houthi radio traffic. Signal monitoring satellites picked up subtle shifts in communications patterns, which analysts cross-referenced with intercepted financial transactions. AI software processed these electronic money transfers, linking accounts in Lebanon, Iraq, and Yemen to map out the timing and location of suspected high-level meetings. This fusion of signals, intelligence, and financial data narrowed the search, but the final confirmation required persistent surveillance in the field. Heron UAVs, equipped with thermal sensors and high-definition cameras, provided that critical layer. These drones mapped the convoy's route, tracked its progress across open desert, and verified the presence of armored SUVs and jamming vehicles, hallmarks of a high-value target. As the convoy moved, real-time video and thermal feeds were relayed to intelligence centers, where analysts watched for deviations in route or behavior that might indicate an attempt to evade detection. AI-driven predictive modeling became central to the operation. By processing thousands of data points from satellite imagery, drone surveillance, and intercepted signals, these systems calculated not just where the convoy was, but when it would be most vulnerable. At one critical moment, AI flagged a 10-second calibration gap in the Houthi convoy's jamming system, an insight that set the strike in motion. This brief window, when the convoy's electronic countermeasures were momentarily offline, allowed planners to synchronize the F-35 attack for maximum effect. Coordination among Mossad, military intelligence, and cyber experts ensured that every element of the operation was informed by the latest intelligence. Military analysts provided assessments of the convoy's defensive posture and likely anti-aircraft threats. Cyber teams worked to intercept and, where possible, disrupt enemy communications as the strike unfolded. Signal monitoring satellites continued to feed real-time updates to ground commanders, allowing for rapid adjustments if the convoy altered its speed or formation. This level of integration meant that the strike could be launched with confidence, knowing that the target's location and vulnerabilities had been confirmed from multiple independent sources. The strike itself was timed with precision. As the convoy approached the edge of the Cedar Mountains, where it could disappear into the rugged landscape, the F-35s released their GBU-39 bombs, targeting each vehicle with sub-meter accuracy. The destruction was near total, but the aftermath revealed the limits of even the most advanced intelligence operation. While the vehicles were destroyed, the absence of high-value remains and the discovery of concealed tunnel entrances exposed a new layer of complexity. The enemy had prepared for exactly this scenario. Further analysis of satellite and drone imagery showed that the tunnel network had been constructed with outside help, pointing to Iranian involvement in both engineering and supply. The tunnel's reinforced entrances, hidden beneath camouflage and natural rock, were designed to withstand airstrikes and provide secure passage for leadership and critical assets. Mossad analysts traced the movement of construction materials from Iranian ports to remote Yemeni sites, confirming a sustained logistical effort behind the tunnel project. Despite the operation's sophistication, the intelligence effort reached its limits underground. UAVs and satellites could identify entrances and surface activity, but the tunnels themselves, buried deep beneath layers of reinforced rock, remained out of reach. Existing munitions, including the GBU-39, were not designed to penetrate such hardened targets. The strike had exposed the problem, but not solved it. Yet despite this intelligence triumph, the operation hit its limits when it came to reaching underground targets. Israel's discovery of the Houthi tunnel network forced a rapid reassessment of its military options. With tunnels over 60 meters deep and shielded by reinforced concrete, Israel's F-35 arsenal falls short. The F-35 Adir, with its precision-guided munitions, excels at surface strikes and targeting exposed assets. But the Sardar mountain bunkers represent a different kind of challenge, one designed from the outset to resist conventional air power. The reinforced underground complex, constructed with Iranian assistance, is engineered to withstand anything short of the most specialized bunker-busting weaponry. Recognizing these limits, Israeli officials turned to the United States with an urgent request. Deploy the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber armed with the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator. The massive ordnance penetrator, a 30,000-pound bomb, can punch through over 60 meters of rock or reinforced concrete before detonating. Its hardened steel casing and delayed fusing allow it to burrow deep into the earth, unleashing an explosive force capable of collapsing entire tunnel systems. The purpose is not just to destroy entrances, but to render vast sections of the underground network unusable, severing command centers, blocking escape routes, and eliminating hidden weapons caches. Only the B-2 Spirit can deliver this kind of ordnance. The bomber's stealth profile is engineered to evade even the most advanced air defenses, enabling it to reach targets in contested airspace without detection. Its operational history includes missions where deep penetration strikes were essential, and its ability to carry the GBU-57 makes it uniquely suited to this scenario. In the context of Yemen, a B-2 strike would mean bypassing remaining Houthi air defences and delivering the MOP directly against the fortified heart of the tunnel system. Every day this network survives gives the Houthi leadership a sanctuary to rebuild. Israel can't afford that head start. Israeli intelligence assessments warn that senior Houthi figures, having survived the initial strike, are likely regrouping and adapting their operational structure underground. The tunnel system, believed to run for miles beneath the Sardar Mountains, offers not only physical protection, but also a secure environment for command, control, and logistics. Each delay in neutralizing these tunnels increases the risk that the Houthis will reinforce their positions, relocate assets to deeper sections, or even expand their subterranean infrastructure. The longer the tunnels remain intact, the greater the chance that they will serve as launch points for future operations, including missile attacks or arms distribution to other Iranian-backed groups. For Israel, the stakes extend beyond immediate tactical gains. The destruction of the tunnel complex would cripple Houthi command capabilities and send a strategic message to Iran, whose resources and expertise enabled this underground fortress. Eliminating the tunnels would disrupt the supply chain, communications, and leadership continuity of the Houthi movement. It would also demonstrate the limits of Iranian influence in Yemen and signal to regional adversaries that even the most sophisticated underground defenses are not beyond reach. The request for B-2 deployment has also become a focal point in Washington. Strategic and political calculations weigh heavily on the decision. Within the Pentagon, some officials advocate for immediate action, emphasizing the risk of allowing the underground threat to persist. Others urge caution, suggesting that further intelligence could yield a more comprehensive understanding of the tunnel network before committing to a strike. The debate reflects not only concerns about operational effectiveness, but also the potential consequences of escalation, retaliatory attacks, cyber operations, or regional destabilization. Yet the alternative, inaction, carries its own risks. Allowing the tunnel network to remain operational would not only undermine the impact of the initial F-35 strike, but also embolden Iran and its proxies. The Houthi leadership would retain a hardened sanctuary, free to plan, coordinate, and execute future attacks. The credibility of US support for its allies would be called into question, and the balance of power in the region could shift in favor of those willing to invest in underground warfare. Now, the choice lies with Washington. Provide the B-2s or watch this subterranean fortress outlast the air campaign. As the conflict in Yemen moves from open battlefields to fortified underground networks, the nature of warfare is shifting in real time. These tunnels do not just complicate operations, they represent an evolving threat that conventional air power cannot neutralize alone. Deploy the B-2 spirit and risk deeper escalation, or delay and let a hidden war hub grow stronger. Washington's decision will shape modern warfare's next chapter. Will unseen threats beneath the earth force a new era of underground warfare? Only time will tell. If you found this breakdown insightful, hit like and subscribe to see how this deepening conflict unfolds.